Uh, so I think Kyle is here. Let me bring you up. Maybe you would like to say something. Hi, Kyle. Good morning.
Morning, Dr. Rao.
How are you?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Okay.
Um, yeah, no, concentration, very important. And what is right concentration?
Yeah.
I remember yesterday's room talking about the coined phrase came up, analysis
Yeah.
paralysis,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I find that something that I'm going to use those words. I've been trying to explain to some friends, high performers,
Mm.
um, very focused individuals when it comes to, um, I would say, what society tells a person as being focused and successful.
Yeah.
Yet then when I see them in the decision making process, in when we're together in person,
Yeah.
it's not really, it doesn't seem to be embodied. So right concentration comes to my mind, or samadhi, and how a person like that, or a person that's practiced asceticism for a long time, seems to be more um,
Focus.
fluid in their decision making process,
Yeah.
and yeah, they don't get stunned by over analyzing what to do,
Yeah.
and that just came to my mind. But I'm just here to support you.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Um, See, what I wanted to focus on is we'll start with a saying that I heard from very revered sage in the West and in the East, Swami Vivekananda. He said, the only thing really separates us from the animals is the concentration and the degree of concentration we have, the degree of success in life. I thought that was a very telling statement. How the concentration of anything. Whether we go and do some stuff outside or when we sit down, really trying to focus on things, concentration is very important. The kids are told concentrate, sit down and concentrate, but they are never told how to do it. So that's something we'll go into. But this session is about Patanjali Yoga Sutras and then mentioning of that, and then let me talk for a while, and then we will invite people as they have questions about that system or any other concentration methods that they can share. We'll be happy to engage them, and then that way we are richer by it. This Patanjali Yoga Sutras, I think some people may have heard about it, but may not have know the details. So, for those people who don't know anything about it, I'm going to give a brief narration of what that is. Okay. Uh, First of all, they said it's Ashtanga Yoga. They have 8 steps in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and first 5 are called Bahya Karnas, and last 3 are Antah Karnas. First 5 are done with the society, with ourselves, with our body, with our breath, and with our senses. Okay, where the last 3 are to do with our thought and mind and all that. Eventually, what happens is that we will be really in silent but alert, silent but alert, and really blissful consciousness. That's what they call samadhi. Okay, so there are 8 steps in Patanjali Yoga. This Patanjali himself is like kind of represented as a semi-god with a human and a serpent bottom. Okay, that's a representative of awareness, I think. But there are folk stories. Legends grow out of after really best scholars grow into their old age and all that, right? But he was somebody very remarkable because he wrote 3 very important books. One for the body, that is the book of Ayurveda, and the second one is for the mind, that is the book we are talking about. Mind you, it's for the mind, it's not just for the body. Okay, and then The last one is for the speech, Vyakarana. That is, with a speech, you have activity outside, how you relate to the world and all that. Okay, so that kind of thing. We are going to talk about for the mind what he talked about Yoga Sutras. In that he says first step is Yama, second step is Niyama, third step is Asana, which is the posture which we all do, and Pranayama, which is the breathing. Pratyahara, withdrawal of senses, Dharana, that is the really concentration, and Dhyana, that is reflection, and Samadhi. Samadhi is the where you kind of quiet but very blissful inside and no movement of thought. Okay, so those are the 8 steps. Let's start with the first step, which is called Yama. It has got 5 components. It's basically how we deal with the society, how we behave in the society. The advice is uh, not be nonviolent. That's the first step. Second one is be truthful. Always speak the truth, and don't steal, and have your control on your senses, and be celibate. That's the fourth one. And the fifth one is don't accumulate or don't accept gifts. Okay, that's how you behave with the society. You be nonviolent, you be truthful, you'll be non-stealing, you control your senses, energy and everything in a much more discriminatory way, and you don't want to accumulate things. Okay, those are the 5 principles that you deal with the society. Then the second one is niyama. Niyamas means there are principles that you within yourself, whereby you say, I'm not going to do certain things to myself, and that are really bad for me in the long run. That's why they are niyamas. They called principles of self-discipline. Okay, and they are like a saucha, santosha, Ishvara pranidhana, swadhyaya, and uh, tapas. That means you be clean both inside and out, and you be contented. Santosha means be contented with whatever you have, and then you practice these things. That is the tapas. And Ishvara Pranidhana is like you have your own version of God, or something superior than you, and then you kind of try to reach that and try to know what that is. Okay, so those niyamas are very important. The one more thing I forgot about is swadhyaya. That means you study yourself in life. You study about your body, what are things that are wrong with it, or you study about your mind, how it is going on. You study about your interactions with the world, all that. Okay, so those are the principles by which you keep yourself clean, you keep yourself contented, you practice all these things, you study yourself as you're practicing, and you finally reach whatever extraordinary force that is there, that you call God or not. You can touch with that. So there's a reality beyond you that you want to reach through the yoga. Those are the principles. Okay, so but now we know how to interact with the society, and how to interact with our own body and mind. Those are called like a moral and ethical principles. So you don't want to go to asana and all those things unless you are moral and ethical. That's basically the message is. And once you are that, then you start practicing asanas, that's postures that help you to be healthy and solid. Like a chariot, if it doesn't have a strong and a very good body, it cannot run faster and longer. Okay, for the longevity, for having the vitality to do the exercises that we'll be doing in the future, with the mind, you want to keep your body disease free and in equilibrium, in homeostasis. They call that prakruti. So, with our lifestyles going across, we may develop, imbalance in that natural homeostasis that they call vikruti. To do that away, these asanas really help you to keep your body metabolically optimal, and metabolically really very, very functioning, very high vitality rate. Okay, so that's why the asanas are there. But with asanas, you can see your mental tendencies, your you may not want to get up and do in the morning. You may not want to be doing certain stretches certain way because there is an ache or there is a deformity. So many things, right? So all that comes into asanas. Okay, it's a important, but in Patanjali Yoga, he gives only one sloka, Sthira Sukham Asana. That means Sthira means stable, Sukham means comfortable, Asana means posture. You take the posture that is convenient, comfortable for you. You should not be aping somebody. You can learn the technique, but you have to allow the body to grow into that. If you take the yoga very in the beginning, uh, like your child, it's much easier because the body has that intelligence. It can be preserved with that. But later on, as we go and develop this modern habit or creature comforts, we can develop a lot of tension, a lot of stiffness in the body, right? So that's why, even though I'm 67, because I do the yoga in the morning, I believe my body is kind of healthy, right? So that is the asana. So we have come up to three, right? Three have completed yama, niyama, asana. And the fourth one is pranayama. Prana is life force that comes into us in the form of the air that we breathe in. And ayama means extending the life force. Okay, when you do slow, deep breathing, your span of life increases. That's basically the whole thing about it. But it's a very, very significant. I value pranayama more than the asanas because that really makes a difference for a lot of problems and also just to get the energy right away. You know, we'll go into that a little bit later. And after that, he's talking about the senses always going out. They're like the horses of the chariot. Unless you control them, they can go whichever direction they want, and then they may not lead you to the direction that you want to go in your life. Okay, that's why be in control of the senses. That is pratyahara. Pratyahara means ahara means food that you take in, right? Pratyahara means with opposite to that. Sense are going out, you kind of withdraw them, and so that you won't even have the stimuli from the edge of the sensory stimulation, and then you won't even have the feedback into you that your food from the senses kind of you go tempering it like not really eating a lot of 10 different varieties of foods, but you're happy with one food, that kind of thing. So anyway, that is about the senses. Once you are ethical and moral, once you have a physical body and that is nurtured by breathing and your senses are controlled, then you're going to tell the mind that I'm going to something. That withdrawal of senses is that message telling the mind, I'm going to work on you. I'm going to make you focused. I'm going to reflect on the things that are going on in your interior in the form of thoughts and emotions, and then you will have a stability where they are not dictating you, but they are under your control, and then you are in the consciousness, which is very serene, peaceful, and pleasurable too, blissful too. So, what you say is first you want to focus, concentrate, because you are stable in your body, your breathing is stable, your senses are controlled, and now you sit down and close your eyes and then keep your spine straight and then say, what is going on with my thoughts, and then bring them all together. And then once they are there, then you contemplate on them. That is dhyana, where you come to one thought and stay with that one thought and then go beyond it, then you are in blissful samadhi, where you are really blissful, stable, non-movement of thought, launched in your true conscious being. That is Patanjali Yoga. 8 steps. First five for outward, last three for inward. And once again, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. Then Dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Dharana is the concentration, dhyana is the contemplation, samadhi is blissful, peaceful quietness, silent thing that you can experience. This is so beneficial once you come to that samadhi. The people who go into samadhi, they are kind of, they realize that they are not just this body and the mind, but that spirit of consciousness which is giving us manifestation of the mind and the body, that is us. Even this touch for a few seconds a day, it's immensely beneficial physically for health and also the mental health too. They are very, very healthy people, because nothing phases them and they are not after anything that easily, and so they kind of conquered a lot of things. That's why they are called Maharajas. That means kings. Kings on their own mind and psychological being. That's why this is a very valuable system to understand and go. In the text itself, he goes into, ancient texts have this pattern. What they do is, whatever they want to say, they will say that in the beginning of the book. And then they will unfold the whole thing, how they have come to that, what is the intricacies and all that. Okay. So he starts with saying that okay, this is um, yoga. Now you're going to do yoga. And then he says you have to stop all the thoughts. Niruddha means stop. Okay. Yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. Worlds of thought are stopped. Okay. Once the mind is not going all over, then you say thada drashtu swarupe avasthana. Then you will really see who you are, and then you will land up in that being that you are, and then you will control your mind and body better. Okay. If not, everything will reflect through the mind, through the body. That's the third one too. So these three, second, third, and fourth, are very important for the entire book message. If you can understand that, then the whole meditation comes into uh, Mano Laila, Mano Nasha, right? Mano Laila is where you don't project your thoughts and then you want to control them. But as you suppress them, it comes back again. But once you understand how the mind works, and manonasha means destruction of the movement of thought. Not that you lose your intellectual capacities, not that you lose memory, imagination, none of it. But on the other hand, you will be able to use them better. Okay. So that is my simple, I hope I made sense. I don't want to take more time on that. I want to open to questions and comments anybody has. So Kyle is here. Raise your hands. We'll bring them up and then we'll go from there. Okay. Kyle, you want to start?
Sure. I guess all I have to say is that I know that it's probably a lot to download right away for most people. Like even the words, I'm just starting to integrate into the mind, whereas before, throughout the process, I focused more on the process,
Hmm.
um, and it seems sometimes unattainable to achieve. I think that my biggest benefit was to contemplate throughout my life as much as possible about the Four Noble Truths and Jesus' teachings,
Hmm.
um, and then as I've learned more about the terminology
Yeah.
and and practice with my roommate from Gujarat for about a decade, it did then get to the point where um, it, it it wasn't there were no thoughts.
Yeah.
It was more sensory um, clarity of conscious experience and also heightened sensitivity
Yeah.
to all of the sensory inputs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like even washing my hands during the pandemic,
Yeah.
it was like a whole other experience. So it was all of a sudden, wow.
Yeah.
Um, instead of thinking about what I needed to do, um, what I was contemplating or worrying about, or maybe my even opinions.
Yeah.
As soon as I disattached from the opinions that I had run through the mind, all of a sudden I was washing my hands and I felt like, and then taking a shower, I could feel every single drop touch the skin. Um, it was very interesting. So I just, Robert's here, so I'm done
Yeah.
talking. I just wanted people to come up and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Kyle, it's a process. It's look, I know people who have studied this 20, 30 years and could not really have the just. It's not about scholarship. It's not about expertise in explanation of the book. It's about really applying it in our lives, I think. That way you don't have to really go to the level of depth of all that right away. This is impossible. You start with what is called swadhyaya. See where I am, what I am doing, and then you go from there. Instead of having a goal of samadhi, you just deal with what you are, and from there it opens up. Yeah, Robert, welcome. You have anything to say? Question or comment?
Hello, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Nice to meet you, Kyle. Nice. Thanks for pinging me in here. Very
Yeah,
interesting conversation talk. Yeah, I really learned a lot. Thank you. I think the thing for me is always being, and this is a constant challenge really for me, is not being attached to whatever results I perceive in any given sitting
yeah,
or any given session, because I can feel something shift and I kind of get wowed by that, and that can last sometimes, a few minutes. Sometimes it can last for weeks, until I realise that I've got to touch that now.
mhm,
But the one thing I was just wanted to sort of slightly push back on was early on. I don't know, I didn't catch who you were quoting, but very early on in the talk, you said something about the one thing that sets us apart from animals is the ability to concentrate. I'll
mm,
tell you what, I've got cats who concentrate like absolute geniuses.
yeah,
They can sit under a hedge or under a bird feeder
yeah,
for like hours, and
yeah,
their focus is 100% on the birds, waiting for their opportunity. So I think animals are very, very able. Certain animals, not all, but some animals are
yeah,
very
sure.
able to concentrate, probably better than us.
I agree
Thank
with
you.
you. Now, the context he was making was about the mind which we human beings have and how we project it or recollect everything, the memory and imagination, right? And they can go very wacky and then they won't allow us to be quiet and peaceful and also focus on the task that we want to do. In that context, he said, a lot of tools we produce, a lot of things we kind of attain mastery over. Those skills and all those things will not be possible unless you concentrate. In that context, he was talking about it. Okay.
Right, I see.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Okay.
So he was saying all animals and we all share the conscious being. So the life as God is in everybody. So they revere animals and everything very much. And some of the yoga postures, you can see cobra pose, you can see camel pose.
Yes,
So
yes.
they are very reverent to the nature, and also they considered all animals as their brothers and beings. But human being is the one who is able to be aware of themselves, who is able to aware of their thoughts and feelings and analyze them and get caught in that analysis. That's what we were talking about, right? Analysis can become paralysis if you do too much without having the reflection. So to have this reflection and insight into things, you need concentration. That's in that context he was saying that. So that makes sense, Robert?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Yes, it does, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think we could get into a conversation about self-awareness of certain animals,
Oh yeah.
but
We were
but
talking
yes, I mean,
about it
in that
yesterday.
context, I think it's true, yes.
We had a room of 2.5 hours yesterday, thought versus awareness, but we can always bring it back. But basically,
Yes.
my purpose is how can we have clarity of mind in a scientific uh, era where we kind of look at things in a skeptical, and also we are supposed to, and then we kind of allow our thinking to go to the as much as as far as I can. But sometimes the thought can be a web of so many thoughts unnecessary to us, and then we get caught and we don't have the clarity of purpose, clarity of doing anything too. So people are burning out, people are stressed out, anxious, depressed, and all of that. I think because of the some ways of not able to handle their own thoughts, right? So these kind of systems are oriented towards that, and understanding that probably will give them some kind of basis to form. This is not a really for Hindus only. This was formulated way before even the Hinduism as the term was coined. That's where people kind of mess it out, saying that this is a different, religion. Um, I myself am not religious at all, but spiritual, but maybe. But then want to understand the vagaries of the mind and how you can have that blissful conscious being they're talking about, which is what is reality for me. It's not like a big achievement or anything. It's something understanding and then keeping the thought in the right perspective. For the external things, thought, yeah, very much. But also, it can go out of whack too, right? Whereas for the internal matters, I was indicated to follow my feeling intuitiveness. And that is really very blissful. And I don't do any basic practice of meditation anymore because I am meditative all the time. And that is itself is a blissful thing. For example, this breathing has made such a difference for me. I was doing a physical yoga on and off, but not in a regular way like I do now, from childhood. In the school, they used to teach us as one class in the week for the yoga. And we were very good at it because we were kids and we don't have any problem. We are always active and all that. But nobody explained the deeper implications of this. They came to me after I became a doctor. I came here and I studied them as a system to understand, not just to follow. Also, really understand the intricacies, why they are really relevant to the modern age. In that sense, it has contributed a lot to my life. I became healthier, and now I am not any medications, but also my energy level. That is what really changes the breathing practices. They are intricately related with the postures and all. So my yoga practice, for example, 1 hour I do three principles: be here and now. That means I don't want to think about anything that's coming in front of me, but I want to be focused on what I'm doing. I cultivate that kind of being in the present in the morning, which I'm carrying through the day. At the same time, I do this deep breathing, which makes me very non reactive. Otherwise, I was having this sympathetic overload, right? This parasympathetic stimulation, which is like a acting against that sympathetic overload. Otherwise, I became very non reactive, taking things in the same way. Even though external circumstances are very difficult, I have this balance with which I respond to my challenges, to my responsibilities, and all that. So practical benefits were innumerable for me and for my patients also. So I kind of went from one to other, and I found the depths are very, very useful, and they are not taught in the proper way or in the proper context. It's not a panacea, but it could be a good lifestyle. That's where I come from. Okay. So if somebody else wants to come up, let's see. Khan. Okay, I did. Okay. Hello, Khan. Welcome. You have any question or comment?
Hello, Doctor. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm good. Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm from United States now.
Oh, it's nice.
Tell us, you have a comment or question?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing question.
Okay. All right. Usually people come up to ask questions or to share their insight into this kind of. We're talking about concentration. One of the methods that I know is this Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and I was trying to introduce that to people who may know or may not know about it. Okay. Um, so anybody else wants to come up? That's fine.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
Just in terms of some of your terminology, how do you define and distinguish between mind and consciousness?
Oh yeah, that's a very good. Anything that is not you is like an objective world, right? And subjective consciousness is that which is not all the outward things. Mind is also compilation of a lot of, but we kind of give it a shape of mind. At it, there are a bunch of thoughts, and that we may identify them as some of our own, some belong this way, and then we give a shape of the mind, you know. But the consciousness is that spirit with which our material body gets the life. So it's a life force that we call it as consciousness also, you know. It's not from the brain. That is the modern way of looking at it. But the ancient way of looking at it is consciousness exists forever, but it kind of manifests this body mind, which because they have manifested, they also go out of manifestation later on, right? So only the consciousness always stays there. Once you understand you are that conscious being, you have no birth, no death, and that gives you a sense of permanence. You know, that's how the ancient systems have all evolved. And then they really question the existence of mind. Is there a mind? And you got to find it through the mind only. So you turn inward and find out the existence of mind or not. Then you will find there is nothing like that, but it's only a bunch of thoughts. Then it becomes a problem of how do you properly use the thought. Suppose you think thought is giving shape to the personality and ego, and you also know that's all just the thought. You know, once you understand that, you won't give it so much importance as otherwise you would. That's why this struggle of finding out who you are and realize that you are that life force or consciousness behind body and mind, you know. And that kind of insight gave them relief from the vagaries of thought, going up and down, depression, anxiety, all those things are gone. Once you realize there's nothing like a mind, there's only a bunch of thoughts, and those thoughts also come and go. Because they come and go, that's not you. If you can look at it, Robert, as a child, you'll know what you feel about yourself as you has not changed, but the thoughts around it will change.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. No, it's a good explanation. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, very important to understand, because otherwise our thought creates our own prison. Or the favorite expression I liked was when you are a spider, for example, you emit all the thoughts out of you, and then you form a network of thoughts and you get caught in it. That's the problem with a lot of our scientific people, including me, was my breakthrough came in 1985 when I was exposed to discussions oriented on that thought versus insight, thought versus awareness. What is the role of thought in our daily practical life, and where it can become a problem for us when we think we are thoughts only. If we are having thoughts, which is actually the fact, thoughts are happening to us, I'm not happening to the thought, but we identify with the thought, and then we kind of get stuck in that network of thought. That's why this is getting worse with all our and you know, so much of technology that has come, so much many devices amplify that thoughts continuously. We need to give some break. Before, people, you know, didn't have so many devices, radios, TVs, and all that, so they were able to relate to the nature and enjoy the movement as they come, and enjoy the company of people, and all the things will be there. But now everybody is really stuck in their own mind or on their devices, especially children. Phone, phone, phone. They cannot really do the conversation or develop relationship based on that, knowing people, enjoying their company. Those kind of things are going down a little bit. They have external things they want to enjoy, they go. They can go amusement park and enjoy all the rides and all that. That has a place, but that is the only way they're having entertainment and all that. This is about enjoying the company of the people, enjoying the company of the nature, and just being ourselves and not being afraid of being ourselves, and then can be reflective. So many human innate qualities are affected by this unilateral, completely unbalanced development of the thought only. Thought has its role, but why does it have to engulf us? That is the problem with a lot of burnout, lot of stressed out people that I deal with. They don't realize those thoughts are only just thoughts. They can just put them aside, have some relief from that. The training is get into the present moment. Don't let things go beyond that. And as you do the present moment very well, your future will be okay. You can have a plan, but when you have the steps to the plan, focus on each step. Give your all completely. Live in that present completely. And that kind of thing helps them to really accept the situations and face them with some resilience inside, rather than being burnt out by perpetual, unconscious, and compulsive thought. That is the problem. And these devices are not really helping the cause. They are actually quadrupled the problem before all the internet expansion and all that. People are kind of relaxed by themselves a little bit, and nowadays it is a kind of, when I tell them, this looks like a something foreign to them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
I look at it as one health point. I look at it like a, can you be relaxed in your mind, alert but aware? Can you have vitality in your body, energy really to the roof, and also you are really resting completely so that your body and mind are restored during the sleep, and you are have a handle on what you are thinking, what you are suffering from deeper thinking of negativity in the form of depression or anxiety. You don't have all of them. If you don't have all of them, then you are living a good life. This yoga practice, other things, what they do is they give you a stable inner self that can deal with problems of life and equanimity, and that is what is needed with a lot of. Otherwise, they make the problem much worse by losing it. The road rages, the reactions in the hospitals. So all that I see, uh, I can see it detached. Like I don't have to get involved in that, and then really spend my nervous energy on that. By me being silent like that in the situations where they are very very serious, like a cardiac arrest and all that, that helps my entire team to follow my lead of being calm and cool, and do what we can do. So very practical implications are there, but it's up to each person to do it. This is not something that can be forced into anybody, but we can introduce them and help them along and understand body has its own intelligence, its own tendencies. Mind, if you don't really allow it to give you a lot of stimuli, it can do all sorts of things. And also there's the art of being in the present. If you can master that, I think a lot of problems will be much less. So I look at from a physician point of view and also a human being point of view. When I look at that, these things make a lot of sense. But I'm not confined to one thing though. I can study several things, and then actually they told me one thing. First, read your inner book, what you are, and then anything else outside. Otherwise, people are reading everything outside, they don't know what they are. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. All right, it's almost coming to 9 because we started a little later. We can stay for another 15 minutes or so. Anybody else has any questions? Kyle, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I think that the intellect seems to be very important to end up getting there, and it's like Bodhi. Um, Throughout um, my experience, it was imperative to understand the systems within,
Hmm.
such as like the conscious experience, the mind, the opinions, the personality, the emotions, the traumas,
Yeah,
and work on clearing that all up. But then there's still the systems outside of oneself, the financial sector, the
yeah,
political arena, academia, different religions, just different ways in which societies build the infrastructure, the social dynamics, all of this. It seems because it was hard to um, basically understand what my triggers were without understanding the root cause of those triggers,
yeah,
and then removing that, or basically growing from that, and then to understand how one relates to life, um, in society, community, the people around oneself. It takes empathy, gratitude, um, compassion, but also an intellect, because I think a lot of people are busy trying to put food on the table, but not necessarily questioning, well, um, who am I working for? Why am I working for them? Where does the money come from?
yeah,
What is it used for? Why are my taxes? All of this stuff. And
yeah,
so I think there's a big emphasis that I've
yeah,
put into place about the intellect, but then also aestheticism, because just knowing um, isn't necessarily practicing. So
yeah,
that's all I really have to share. But
yeah.
just always going to come into your rooms and help support you. It's very authentic. It's it's very well. You're very articulate in the way that you talk about these matters that can be sometimes a lot for people. So the way that you're able to
Yeah.
put the terminology in simple, clear definitions, and all that, I think that there's a great benefit here, and we'll always support you.
I have to thank you, people like you and other friends who try to bear with me and listen to me when I was really that articulate in the beginning. Yeah. So I kind of owe it to be able to get up and talk and then really understand what was going on. So there was that. You know, I term it like this. Uh, See, most of the people get stuck in the only the business of making a living, which is important, you know. But we are not like just eat and procreate and then sleep and die. That's not it. Okay, we have a very keen intellect which questions who we are, what we are, and why we are. So, what is important for these systems of ancients, not just for India, China, or Japan, Egypt, or even or Australia, Aborigines, any systems you take, Mayan culture and all that, they have asked these fundamental questions of who am I, what am I, why am I here, where did I come from, where I'm going, what's the purpose of this universe. All those existential questions are very important to consider so that we can really understand those important things through the wisdom of these ancients. That's where they kind of really evolved inwardly. I think they are, if you take it civilization wise, they were very evolved in that respect. That's why they made the outward life simpler and inward thinking much higher. Whereas modern age has shifted more to having a very, very good life outside, comfortable life, and conquering the nature. That was the thing, right? And inwardly very, very simple, not thinking much, not understanding much. And that's why we create the divisions, we create the wars, we create the lack of resources for many people, even in India, or even in Asia as a whole, or South America, Africa. All these areas don't have means at all. And if you really take the resources, world's 5% population enjoy 25% of resources, so it's a kind of a very, very unequal way, no equanimity at all, right? We say the science has progressed and that, but the advantages are only for the few, but not everybody. And on the other hand, it is threatened, right? The planet is threatened, and this consumer-like attitude that we have to have more and more things and more damage uh, to the earth is established by human activity now. Now, that kind of human activity, everybody has to question for themselves: am I being indulgent in this external consumerism, or am I being responsible for it? That is a kind of thing helps the planet also. These systems, they make you internally blissful, contented, happy, and peaceful person, so that you don't have to go out for a lot of things. The intellect and the senses go out all the time, right? That is where we are making mistake. Okay, you have the needs like a food, shelter, and clothing, but beyond that, you can have some temperance in sensory enjoyment and all that, right? But when most of the people don't have even a single meal for the day, how can these people indulge? If they are aware of that kind of situation, would they be able to do that? That's the question, So these systems give you that inner contented happiness where you don't have to go there. Actually, I will go much more. They give you a blissful thing that you won't have it from the external sensory indulgence. That is the secret. Once the people find it by themselves, not me telling, and then they say, "Go, oh, that is true." No, you have to investigate yourself, and you have to find out for yourself. It is there within all of us, and we kind of cover it up in that ego structures, and that is where we have to get those clouds of ego structures go away. And this process give you that. When I'm asking people to be here and now in the morning, meaning what? Meaning, keep your awareness here and now. Don't let it take a flight into the future or into the past. Don't live in the past. Get the lessons of the past, but live here. Don't let your imagination run into the future in a dream world. You can have the dreams, but you have a steps towards that, right? Each step you focus on. So that kind of control over what you are going to do, and if you do very well, your future will be taken care of. At the same time, you are blissful in whatever you are doing. You are not in flighty ideas, you are not flighty dreams or memories, or people kind of simple thing, somebody says insulting word, they carry for months, you know so they will be living in that past all the time, recollecting that, and reliving that insult and feeling bad about it. All that is unnecessary suffering. So these kind of things, understanding where the role of intellect and senses are, where the role of intuition is, and then turning to the intuition will result in blissful conscious being. And that is very, very blessed situation as far as I am concerned. For me, I feel like it's a blessing, you know. So that's why they said first realize who you are. That is the purpose of the human life. And then go about serving the world. For the welfare of the world, you work for it. They didn't say that you indulge your own pleasures and pains or whatever, but go and work for the world. And that is where our sharing, our relationships, everything comes up. I hope I made some sense, Kyle.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And the more I think there's something to be said about community and not only are people on the phones more often and um, being driven by I guess either suiting their needs or ego, but also there seems to be a lack of community
Mm.
developing in different areas around the world, and the more that people can set up meditation centers, healing centers, community building programs. I think the better non for profits that are geared towards building um, community, and then maybe people will feel a purpose greater than themselves, and things will just kind of naturally grow from there. That's just what came to my mind, but
Yeah.
you were absolutely clear.
Even the science is coming to this conclusion that there is only one energy. In that energy, we are all in. you know this was a insight that ancient had long thousands of years. They said there are no others. We are all in one shakti. The shakti means energy, right? And out of that energy we are all living, and that never goes anywhere. We only divide that by identifying with our egoic structure. That's where religions have strayed to make people believe in something more than them, which is definitely there. And that energy they may call God or consciousness or self or whatever, right? They said you can really go over ego and realize this. That means there's something bigger than you. You are only a part of the wheel, but not completely by yourself. We call ourselves individual. Is there something like that? That means a person who is not divisible, you know but indivisible. That is the individual. They said about a person, personality and ego and all that, right? And they also said there is a universal law which they call dharma, and those laws always adjust everything. Look at the COVID. When it came, so many fault lines were explored and so much of world is coming together. At least in the scientific community, I know they shared the data much more easily, much more quickly, and they shared the results of trials very easily, and they exchanged all the nuclear code and everything that we want. They have done that. The digital imprints of genetic coding was distributed, and in that respect, as a humanity of scientists, they all are one, and they contributed to the vaccine come up within 1 year. I think that's a very significant achievement. And then those process will continue. It is the political identification, or suppose you don't identify with the political ideology, but you consider only one human tribe. Would you be having any problems? You won't have personally. You won't cause to the problems also existing division. That's where I say, if you identify I am patriot of one particular country, then you are contributing to the division of the world. you know why can't you say I'm only a human being? Everybody is a human being. We are all in one energy. And that insight happened thousands of years ago. We ran away from it, and then we are suffering of the wars. Not just at the country level, even at the local level. Even if two three people cannot work together because they have politics comes in there. What are the politics? It is a projection of egoic structures, right? So these things work at the individual level, touch the universal level.
Yeah, it's something that I thought of while you're saying that is I've often contemplated
Mm.
um, about His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and
Yeah,
how that's both a religious leader and a political leader. I
yeah.
know that he's made some
Scientific also.
decision based.
Dalai
Yeah,
Lama is scientific also. Dalai Lama, right?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
and just how challenging that would actually be to be both the a religious leader and political leader, and somehow keep in equanimity and love for all beings will at the same time
No, I would say it's
make
easy for him.
response.
No, Kyle, I would say it is very easy for him. I know Dalai Lama, lots of ways, but he is very easy because he settles down in that conscious self being where his movement of thought is not there, which causes all the divisions.
Yeah,
He
yeah, absolutely.
he's
Easy
in
for him now,
perfect,
but
yeah,
I,
he's in
I
perfect
like
mode, perfect
when
mode.
he was younger, when
Yeah,
he was younger, and the decisions that he had to make at that age. That's kind of what I was referring to. Of course,
oh
it's
yeah.
easy for him now,
No,
but
no, no. Even then, he
just
was
yeah,
not exposed to the Western thinking at the time. Maybe to some extent, but not completely, because he was brought up in those traditions of Tibetan Buddhism, and that is a very deep science too. I know about Tibetan Buddhism also. One of the very, very, very deep sciences is that. So he was brought up in that. So he was given that access to that wisdom, and he established himself very young. All the political things have come. That's the beauty of spirituality is it kind of helps you to deal with the biggest tragedies of the world with equanimity, at the same time remaining in that blissful self. And he's always like that. So other people may consider different, but when he come approaches Chinese also, he considers them as brothers. He may not agree with the political implications of them, but he doesn't have any room for animosity, hatred, anything in his heart.
yeah, exactly. And that's because I've been paying attention to him what
Yeah.
seems to be all of my waking life, and now I'll be talking and discussing about like the implications both spiritually and politically
Kyle, I will
of
recommend.
of the
I'll recommend a video for you because I found this very interesting. You know that BKS Iyengar is the yoga master. Uh, he's a very famous in the world with so many people, and he and Dalai Lama did a 2 hours, discussion on Buddhism and yoga, and I think you will be fascinated to hear that. Okay, I would recommend that
oh,
you take it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, please share it with me. Yeah, and I guess
I don't know.
all I
You
was
just
gonna say is that it's very interesting because talking about the Dalai Lama and Xi Jinping's plan to claim the next Dalai Lama,
mm,
it's interesting how people think that some people can listen to that and be like, well, he must not like these people, and I actually feel the exact same way.
yeah.
I welcome a conversation with both Xi and the Dalai
Yeah.
Lama,
Kyle, I
and
don't
to
know where
engage.
the video
Yeah,
is.
in,
I saw this video a few years ago, but you can put like a Dalai Lama and BK Iyengar and you will access that video on the YouTube. Okay?
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly, and
Yeah.
that's I guess what it process to allow people to pay attention to
Yeah.
all matters that
Yeah.
um, that cause suffering in the world, but to
Yeah.
then not cause
See,
more suffering by being so opinionated, and to just love all beings
yeah.
regardless of political or religious or
You
spiritual
see,
or whatever ideologies.
my principle is I don't really want to hang on to a messenger, but I want to hang on to the message he's sending us. Then you won't create cults, you won't create limitation and all that. Then message becomes the same, the truth becomes the same, and that's why I can listen to Dalai Lama, I can listen to BK Sengar, other people, and get their message. And the other thing is, am I really putting this message in my life? That's my question. For me, that becomes important. Otherwise, it becomes an intellectual chatter, and anybody erudite can say things. But whether you are applying it not, only you will be knowing within yourself. So you want to be true to yourself, then you will know you are doing it or not. So all these people are high frequency people. Dalai Lama, Krishnamurti or Ramana Maharshi, any of the number of people I have seen, they are very high frequency. They have this elevated thought, they have this compassion, and then they have this self from which they talk. And if you can cling to that message, I think we'll be better off. Otherwise, we kind of worship people, we kind of place them on the pedestal, we kind of form cults, and we kind of cause to the division. And also, we are kind of becoming children like when you become a follower. Instead, don't place any person like that, but then the message. What is that message they are telling us for the life? And then implement. I think with that we'll stop here now. I think we have more than an hour today. So I like to spend 1 hour. Unfortunately, Deepthi was sick. Probably if she's okay, we'll open on the MedStar tomorrow. We plan to continue on this Clarity of Mind series at least for a few days. Next will be how one should watch their thoughts. That's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Watching the thought. That is the subject. And later on, I move to how we can go to one thought and go beyond it, and how you can taste the samadhi like the state and all that. Okay, so just introducing people, not telling them anything to do. They can take it and investigate it. If this appeals to them, then try it and then study it on their own, or what is happening in their life. Okay, thank you all. Thank you very
Perfect.
much.
Dr. Rao, just quickly,
Yeah,
can we have a little bit of talk about attention as well? Because I
yeah, yeah,
know that
yeah,
sometimes people become nihilistic or ignorant, right? Like, because I love all people, but I still am aware that there are Tibetan monks
yeah,
that are being tortured,
yeah,
and I can't really ignore that, right? But I still have love for the torturer and the people that are being tortured, and
yeah,
it's something. There's something there about attention that we also need to bring up, so people don't just ignore
yeah,
reality and what's actually happening.
yeah.
And I'll stop talking now, but I love you very much and very grateful for what you're doing here.
No, attention is a sequence of what we are going to do. First, we tackle with all sorts of thoughts going all over, and how can we bring them together? That is this piece of concentration as the initial step. And I wanted to introduce them the system of Patanjali, which is said to be the best way to concentrate. I agree with that, because you cannot be lying and then that bothering you, and then you say I'm going to be meditating. You have to be telling the truth, whatever it is. And that way I can introduce the whole system so that people can take interest and go and study, and maybe they will have some questions for me. I have a wellness club if you want to come and join, and you can have live sessions with me, and you can do yoga with me. You can have discussions and all that. And I also have a Facebook group on the BA Pal where I can go and talk to my people on live. Right now, I'm on live on Facebook also here, but like that. And also, I do some webinars and master classes according to the people. I just did one on the how can we get rid of the belly fat and all that. So many activities are going on. But I love to come on Clubhouse and Wisdom and share my thoughts with my friends. Hopefully, everything is in that order. And me and Dipti, we talked a little bit. I told her the agenda that I would like to do, and she was going to do that moderating also today. But she, unfortunately, she got very sick, so I have to allow her to not to be here. But I think she may be here tomorrow if she is doing well. Okay. Otherwise, I will be committing myself, and then I'll be completing the topics. Watching the thoughts, and then attention and one thought, and going beyond that, and staying in that energy. All those things I want to present to people. And anything is not just one day talk. You have to really do it consistently. And from our wherever we are, our level, it doesn't have to compare with anybody, but also don't have to put ourselves down either. So I hope I can share all those things, and then I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody on the Instagram.